All right, guys, I'm going to remind you how we are going to go through and create a data table into a line graph for your enzyme lab. The numbers that I'm going to use are not the actual numbers that you will be using in yours, so don't follow exactly what I do except for the steps that you need to go from the table to the graph. So you're going to be using this enzyme lab data spreadsheet, which is posted in your classroom. Everybody has access to update it and to edit it. Please make sure you are not actually taking any information from it that is not yours. You're not editing any information that is not yours. We need to just have these numbers in the average column written down on your data table 2 in your lab packet. This is in the last video, so you should have it already. Now, what our packet's telling us to do is make a line graph on a graph paper provided showing the class average data. So we're not using individual group data, we're using the entire class average. So whether you're first hour, third hour, or eighth hour, if you're a remote student, you don't remember which hour you're in, feel free to pick any of those and just stick with all the data from that one lab. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to sheets.google.com. It's going to open up a new Google Sheet for you, or you need to open one up. And then you are going to title it, preferably with your name, once it loads. So, come on. Your name, and then enzyme lab. And that should be enough. What we're going to do is we're going to create some columns. So the first one is going to be time. And then we are going to have our seconds underneath it. We're actually going to do our second intervals a little bit differently than what it shows on the paper so that Google Sheets can interpret it correctly. So we're going to just do the ending time. So we're going to start each of them at 0 so that we're starting completely at the beginning of the experiment. And then we're going to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 90, and then 100. And that should be all that you need for those. Then you're going to have column 1 is our regular enzyme, or they phrase it as, let me see what the packet calls it, the baseline. So I'm going to have my baseline pennies, and then denatured, my coenzyme, and then I also have my competitive inhibitor. What you're going to do is you're going to take the class averages from the spreadsheet. All of these are going to start with 0. And so your first data number is going to come from the class spreadsheet, and you're going to do the average for your class period, and you're going to put them in these columns. Please do not copy and paste from the other spreadsheet because you may inadvertently cut and we lose that data for everybody else. Type these numbers in from your packet paper so that we are all able to still use that data. So I'm going to pause this. I'm just going to type in some random numbers and I'll be right back. Okay, so I typed in random numbers. This is not going to be the numbers you have. In fact, you should have at least a few decimals in there, and they probably won't even go up at these rates. But you want to make sure you have a number carried through for every single time slot. So even if you finish like this example here, we got to the last number at 60 seconds. I'm going to type that last number all the way throughout, which should be the case on all of our averages that we have. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight all of these cells. So you'll see I start over at time, and then I go all the way down to my last competitive inhibitor number. Highlight the whole thing, and then if you see this insert chart button on your toolbar, if you don't see it, you would need to either expand on your toolbar, so there's usually like 3 dots or a drop down arrow for more, and it's there, or you can go actually to insert up here, and you can go to chart there. And when you do that, Google's going to try to think of what chart you want. So it decided that I want a line graph, which is exactly what I do want. But what I need to do is go through and actually change some of the details on it. So you'll notice in the packet that it requires that we have a title labeled X and Y axis with the units and a color-coded key. So you're going to go over to Customize. You're going to do Chart Axis and Titles. It'll be on the chart title. You need to rename this chart title. It's not going to be exactly what you need it to be. And then you can also do the horizontal axis, which is your x-axis, and your vertical axis. You're going to need to label these with what they are and what the units are that we're counting in. You'll notice that it already color-coded for you, and it has all of your different types up there at the very top. So once you're done with that, all you have to do when you're done editing is make sure that this graph is moved off to the side of your data, and then you can turn this in as the graph part of your assignment. You still need to do the docs for analysis and conclusion questions, but that graphing is all done for you.